What am I doing? I just turned my AC unit off when it is like 112 degrees outside and I have to film an entire video, so only for you, man. I'm gonna be rushing through this script. First things first, you really want to expose for your background. Open as many windows as you can. If there's a lamp in the background, turn it on. You want the place to feel lived in and not overpower the ambient lights, or else that just looks like your subject is on a stage and has a spotlight on them, which maybe you want, but generally you want whatever environment they're in to feel lived in. And once the background looks nice and lived in, that's when you can start figuring out your main subject lighting. So, how do you do that? Well, for starters, there's the basic like 3-point setup, you know, a key, rim, fill. And what does that mean? Well, you start off with your main light, aka your key light. It's the key light. It's the most important one. It's what's directly lighting your subject. But since it's probably gonna be casting some shadows on the face, you gotta fill those in a little bit. Now, don't get me wrong, shadows aren't a bad thing. They are what causes like a two-dimensional image like you're watching right now to look 3D. Plus, they just freaking look cool. But on the other hand, in general, when you have shadows that are like too harsh, too sharp, to me, unless it's for a specific effect, it just doesn't really look that good. And that is where your fill light comes in. It is a light designed to fill in the shadows caused by your main light. Now, you're gonna want to diffuse this as much as possible because it's not really supposed to be noticeable. You know, all it's there is just to add some detail into the shadows on your face, or whatever you're filming. Okay, and little secret, it's kind of optional. Like, I don't use one when filming videos. I just have one main light, but I diffuse it, and I'll get into that in a second. And finally, your rim light. Now, this is one of those things that, like, when you're just starting out, you don't really notice, but once you become conscious and aware that it's there, you will never unsee it. So sorry. Basically, we're gonna take your brightest light and put it behind you, facing the back of your head. See that little like halo kind of light? That's what really separates you from the background and adds just a little bit of pop. Chris in editing here, a better or at least a more clear term for this might be hair light, because you light your hair with it. Now, the thing with rim lights is it's actually surprisingly difficult to get them in the correct position without having any of the equipment for them be in the shot. You can't just put it on a stand, because then the stand will be visible. You have to either use some kind of C-stand, or honestly do what a lot of YouTubers do and just use some existing light source like a window or a lamp that you turn on. Because remember, lamps that are turned on in the background generally are a good look. It makes the place look lived in. Now, of course, the problem with using like a window or something like that is that it really is just throwing light across the room everywhere, totally uncontrolled, which is where some like specialty equipment comes in, like barn doors and flags and stuff, to really direct exactly where you want this to. So, now that you know the 3 basic roles that lights can fill, how do you actually go about setting them up? There's a couple different ways. Umbrellas, softboxes, and bouncing. Umbrellas. This is definitely the cheapest way to start out. As companies like Cowboy Studio or newer sell kits for like 20 bucks. Granted, they're crap, but they work. And in my opinion, this is actually a pretty great deal for when you're starting out, except take the umbrella that will come with this kit and just throw it away. It's a piece of crap. It's cheap, it's flimsy, but most important of all, it's thin and doesn't really diffuse the light, which is the whole point of using an umbrella. The actual umbrella is the one thing that you don't want to skimp out on. If it's possible, the best thing to do is head down to a local camera store and check out all of the various umbrellas that they will have, paying close attention to the size and the thickness of the umbrella. The bigger the size and the thicker the material, the more the light will be diffused through it. Now granted, make sure the light bulbs you're using are bright enough to like shoot through it. Now the problem with umbrellas, right, is that because they're so big and round, they kind of just fling the light everywhere. Soft and diffuse light for sure, but still, they're like flinging it around willy-nilly. And that is why people use softboxes. These are a lot more complicated to set up, but they give you a lot more control. Like if umbrellas are lamps, softboxes are flashlights. Just really, really big ones. Softboxes control the light so that it only comes out from the front. Now the problem with this is that because the light is just going straight ahead instead of bouncing off the side of the umbrella and then bouncing off the wall and then bouncing on your subject, it's significantly harsher. But in situations where you specifically need light to shine here and not here, it is really what you need. They work great for like rims, right? Where you want the light on you and not really on the background. But okay, say totally hypothetically, that you have a bunch of soft boxes and you really want soft, beautiful, diffused light everywhere, but you don't have the physical space for an umbrella. What do you do then? That, my friend, is where my favorite technique comes in. Bouncing. Call me Tigger. Remember how softboxes just kind of shoot light in front of them without it bouncing around at all? We're gonna make it bounce. Set up your softbox in front of a white wall and then turn it around and make it face the wall. See, now the light has to bounce off of the wall to land on you. And because no two light particles are bouncing the exact same way, like on the exact same path to get onto you, the lighting that bounces off of you is so much more softer and diffused. Remember, the only way to get soft, diffused, airy light is to bounce and scatter and kind of confuse the light path as much as possible. Bear in mind though, the more you do this, right, the less light will actually make it off whatever you're bouncing it off of you and then into the camera. So you gotta make sure your lights are pretty bright if you really want to diffuse things up. And also you have to be careful with bouncing because the color of the wall really can like bleed into the light that gets bounced off of it and can mess up your color settings. It will give your videos a slight, and in some cases not so slight, color cast of the wall color. This is something I used to struggle with a lot because back in North Carolina, my bedroom was baby blue. So I literally just mounted a white bed sheet across an entire wall and bounced light off of that. And if that's just like not an option where you are, an okay solution is just to bounce light off of the ceiling because ceilings are almost always white. But again, you gotta make sure to really diffuse it because that will definitely cause, due to the way that eyes are shaped, some shadows right here and give your subject raccoon eyes. Now, of course, there's special lights for specific purposes, right? I didn't even touch on things like ring lights, but that's generally a more specific use case, and if you're purchasing one, you already know why. Or you have a TikTok account. And there you go. I hope this helped clear up some of the confusion around this wonderful world of lighting. Now your homework is to go out and really pay attention to the lighting that's around you. Like, you can see the effects of a room lamp, right? But try and really visualize the actual light particles, the light rays, bouncing from this lamp, what they are bouncing off of by what is being illuminated by the lamp in the room, and like visualize that path to get from all of those objects into your eyes. Now do that with your window. And then later tonight, even your phone screen. Now let me show you my setup. It's pretty simple. I just have one softbox bouncing light off of a corner of my room with the shades drawn, and then another light in the background that I use for lighting up the background when I'm filming at night. And when I'm not filming at night, I just use the window right over there. I found that generally when I bounce light using a softbox, it's diffused enough where I don't really need a fill. I can get away with just the one light. So that's my current setup. Because remember, when using a camera, you are not recording the subject. You are recording the light that is bouncing off of the subject.